Kevin and Ivy, let us take a break from our nature walk.
Okay, Joanna.
Yes, Joanna. I am tired of walking.
Kevin, what are you watching on your phone?
Ivy just sent me a link to an interesting video clip by a mystic named Sadhguru.
Ivy, who is Sadhguru, and what is the video about?
Sadhguru is a famous yoga guru on YouTube. In the video, he highlighted the dangers of too much information and its effects on young people. He said that suicide rates will go up in future because of the depression caused by too much information.
Joanna, let me show you a clip from the video.
In the last 15 years, the world's ability to communicate across cultures and borders is so heavy and so unprecedented. Nobody has ever been used to this kind of influences before, okay, never before. This level of influence on our young people, never before possible, no other generation has ever experienced this kind of onslaught from so many directions, and the volume of influence is too big. So, in terms of changes that are happening, it is not next, it is simply somewhere and nobody knows where it is because it's too complex and too mixed. Nobody knows where it is, including the young people, it's just a mix of things. So this is because of a sudden onslaught of information and communication. It is not for us to judge whether it's good or bad, it is just that definitely this level of information. When I say information, it's like when we were growing up, I believe it was true for your generation also, we never knew what is boredom, okay? There was no such thing, we were just excited about everything that came our way. But you see today 12-year-old kids, if you tell them what, oh, you see, they're just bored because they know the whole cosmos, they've seen it on their phone screen, not even on the computer screen. On the phone screen, they've seen entire cosmos, they know everything. Things that you do not know, they know, you ask them, they know it.
Yes.
By information. I'm not by any standards a pessimistic person, but I'm just saying this, if this level of information continues and it'll multiply manifold for the coming generations, you should not be surprised in the next 50 to 100 years, if 50% of the human population choose to commit suicide, you should not be surprised, because that is what will happen to the mind. Today, this day, more people commit suicide in this world than all the wars and murders and accidents manage to kill. And if this level of information onslaught continues on human mind, so I'm saying this, if this level of information onslaught continues at the same pace or at higher pace, which is possible in the next few years, this will definitely lead to wanting to terminate yourself because there will be nothing to live for. There is no joy and excitement about anything.
Thank you, Kevin. Yes, the guru is correct. I noticed that both of you are also hooked to your phone.
Thank you, Joanna, for pointing it out. I didn't know that I am so attached to my phone.
Joanna, I agree with Kevin. I wonder what we will do without our phone. We seem to be addicted to it.
Come sit down. Let us explore this important question and see how we can mitigate the impact of too much information on people's minds. Kevin and Ivy, how shall we explore this question on the impact of social media on people's minds?
I will search on YouTube for videos using the phrase, dangers of social media.
Let's do it. I will find one to share. Kevin can do the same for another video.
Great ideas. Please do it and share extracts of the videos for us to discuss.
I would like to share the following extract showing the negative effects of social media on our minds.
So we know from the research literature that the more you use social media, the more likely you are to feel lonely or isolated. We know that the constant exposure to your friends' carefully curated positive portrayals of their life can leave you to feel inadequate and can increase rates of depression. And something I think we're going to be hearing more about in the near future is that there's a fundamental mismatch between the way our brains are wired and this behavior of exposing yourself to stimuli with intermittent rewards throughout all of your waking hours. So it's one thing to spend a couple hours at the slot machine in Las Vegas, but if you bring a slot machine with you and you pull that handle all day long from when you wake up to when you go to bed, we're not wired from it. It short circuits the brain, and we're starting to find that it has actual cognitive consequences, one of them being this sort of pervasive background hum of anxiety.
Here's the thing. The world we live in isn't real. Social media isn't real. And by design, social media rewards us for showing our best life. The edited, posed, champagne, Michelin star, holiday, orchestrated best angle of our life, the highlight reel. But you don't ever see real life, the 99% of our lives, the behind the scenes, the unglamorous, unfiltered, day-to-day, bland normality. And you end up comparing your behind the scenes to other people's fake highlight reel and using others as a mirror or benchmark for how you should look, how successful you should be, or how you should live. These fake comparisons will only serve to make you feel inadequate and inferior to something that isn't even real. Research continually shows that comparing your life to someone else's creates envy, low self-confidence, low self-esteem, and depression. You compare yourself to other people every single day, consciously or subconsciously, and no matter what I say, you're not going to stop because comparing one thing to another is a natural human thing to do. Whether we want to admit it or not, a big reason why anything has value is because there's something worse or better to compare it to. Think about it. The answer isn't to stop making comparisons because unfortunately we can't control that. But you have to change the object of your comparison. From someone else to yourself. You have to measure yourself against yourself. And by doing this, you start at a base point where you consider yourself to be perfectly fine exactly how you are. But it also is the most effective, motivating, and healthy way to work to improve yourself. You'll become your happiest self when you stop putting pressure on yourself to be more like someone else and when you start comparing real to real.
Kevin, please share with us the key points from the video extract.
Joanna, I did not realize how toxic is social media to our minds until I viewed the video. The constant stimuli we get from checking our social media feeds throughout the day is not healthy for our brain.
Yes, the constant exposure to our friends' carefully curated positive portrayals of their lives makes us feel inadequate and miserable, even though we know it is not real.
I agree. Social media is designed to reward us, to share the best versions of ourselves to get likes from our friends.
Kevin and Ivy, I'm happy that both of you realize the bad effects of social media on your self-image. You should always measure yourself against your own self, so that you can motivate yourself to improve. We shall talk more about this later, when we discuss about connecting to your inner person. Ivy, can you please share with us your video extract?
Yes, I would like to share the views of Jiren Lanier on the toxicity of social media. He is a computer scientist and a pioneer in the field of virtual reality.
Is there a principal reason why I should delete my social media? And if so, what is it?
There are two. One of them is for your own good, and the other is for society's good. For your own good, it's because you're being subtly manipulated by algorithms that are watching everything you do constantly, and then sending you changes in your media feed and your diet that are calculated to adjust you slightly to the liking of some unseen advertiser. And so if you get off that, you can have a chance to experience a clearer view of yourself and your life. But then the reason for society might be even more important. Society has been gradually darkened by this scheme in which everyone is under surveillance all the time, and everyone is under this mild version of behavior modification all the time. It's made people jittery and cranky. It's made teens especially depressed, which can be quite severe. But it's made our politics kind of unreal and strange, where we're not sure if elections are real anymore.
Ivy, please share with us the key points from the video extract.
Jiren recommends that we should delete our social media accounts. He says it will be good for us, and for society. He says that we are being subtly manipulated by the social media programs. The programs adjust our social media feeds to get us addicted, and also to subtly change our behavior. He says that we will be able to get a clearer view and understanding of ourselves, if our minds are not manipulated by the messages we get from our social media feeds. For society, he says that the constant surveillance and subtle modification of people's behaviors by social media programs has made people jittery and cranky. It has caused teenagers to be depressed and skewed people's views on politics.
Joanna, I would like to add to what Ivy just shared about the manipulative aspects of social media. Please see the following video clip.
What happened is that the attention economy and this race for attention got more and more competitive. And the more competitive it got to get people's attention on, say, a news website, the more they need to add these design principles, these more manipulative design tactics, as ways of holding on to your attention.
You don't realize it, but you are being programmed.
Social media tools are designed to be addictive. The actual desired use case of these tools is that you fragment your attention as much as possible throughout your waking hours. That's how these tools are designed to use. Well, we have a growing amount of research which tells us that if you spend large portions of your day in a state of fragmented attention, so large portions of your day where you're constantly breaking up your attention, take a quick glance, do a just check, and just quickly look at Instagram, that this can permanently reduce your capacity for concentration. I am especially worried about this when we look at the younger generation coming up.
Kevin, please highlight the key points for us.
Joanna, we are being manipulated by the social media apps to be addicted to them. The apps are competing for our attention because advertisers are willing to pay to get our attention, to influence us to buy their products, or their biased views and values. We are being programmed to check our social media apps like Facebook and Instagram throughout the day. This fragmentation of our attention, by the continuous notification, checking and responding to our social media feeds throughout our waking hours, is bad for us. Research has shown that this repetitive fragmentation of our attention can permanently damage our ability to concentrate.
Yes, Kevin. Jiren Lanier says that it will increase people's anxiety levels and make them jittery and cranky.
Ivy and Kevin, Sir Ken Robinson has highlighted this serious issue of the fragmentation of students' attention in a video entitled Changing Education Paradigms. Let me share with you a clip from the video.
These kids are being medicated as routinely as we had our tonsils taken out, and on the same whimsical basis and for the same reason, medical fashion. Our children are living in the most intensely stimulating period in the history of the earth. They're being besieged with information and calls for their attention from every platform, computers, from iPhones, from advertising holdings, from hundreds of television channels. And we're penalizing them now for getting distracted. From what? Boring stuff. At school, for the most part. It seems to me not a coincidence totally that the incidence of ADHD has risen in parallel with the growth of standardized testing. Now, these kids are being given Ritalin and Adderall and all manner of things, often quite dangerous drugs, to get them focused and calm them down.
Sir Ken Robinson is highlighting the same message as the guru. He says that children today are living in the most intensely stimulating period in the history of the earth. Their minds are being besieged with information from numerous sources, such as computers, phones, TVs, and billboards. He says students are being penalized for getting distracted and unable to focus on the boring stuffs at school.
Joanna, I can relate to what you just shared in the video clip. School's boring, compared to the way we are learning with you at Pekanakri Academy. I like the freedom to explore and discover new things, through the interesting YouTube videos and the subsequent discussions.
I agree with Kevin. We get exposed to different views on a topic, and there is always the serendipity element of a surprising discovery. We are challenged to think, and be more creative, by learning in this way.
Yes, Ivy and Kevin. Instead of changing the way we educate students to the new technological environment, our traditional classroom education system is resorting to drugs like Ritalin to sedate students so that they can focus in the classroom. Ivy, what does Jiren Lanier advise young people to do after they delete their social media account?
Let me show you the clip where he gives his advice.
If you're a young person and you've only lived with social media, your first duty is to yourself. You have to know yourself. You should experience travel. You should experience challenge to yourself. You need to know yourself, and you can't know yourself without perspective. So at least give it 6 months without social media and really quit him. Don't quit Facebook to keep another Facebook thing like WhatsApp, because then it'll still be spying and manipulating. Get rid of the whole thing for 6 months and know yourself, and then you can decide. I can't tell you what's right. You have to decide, but you can't until you know yourself.
Ivy, what is Jiren Lanier's advice?
Jiren's advice to young people is to know themselves through the experience of traveling and taking on challenges. He says that we will not get a good perspective of ourselves if we view ourselves through our social media feeds. He recommends that we delete all our social media accounts, or inactivate it for at least 6 months.
Joanna, how do we stay connected with our friends if we delete our social media accounts?
Kevin and Ivy, Jiren's recommendation is for those who are addicted to social media, and their lives revolve around their social media feeds. They need to detoxify their lives from the manipulative effects of the social media programs by deleting their social media accounts. You are now aware that the free services that you get from Google, Microsoft, Facebook, Instagram, and other free social media apps come with a cost to your privacy. You need to decide what you want to do with them.
Jiren says that phone screen time is not as bad as being tweaked and manipulated by the social media apps. I will stop using my social media apps like Facebook and Instagram, since their feeds are used by the apps to manipulate the users. Instead, I will just use a chatting app, like WhatsApp, to stay in touch with my friends.
Ivy, I agree with you. We will not be manipulated by a chatting app since we only send and see our friends' specific replies to our chat messages. Facebook and Instagram manipulate us, and fragment our attention through feeding us advertisement and all the trivial posts of our social network throughout the day.
Kevin and Ivy, can you find out why Jiren did not recommend WhatsApp?
I found from Googling that WhatsApp is owned by Facebook, and shares a lot of users' information with Facebook. Facebook uses the information to manipulate users on the Facebook platform with targeted advertising. Ivy and I are not going to use Facebook and Instagram anymore, so the information is useless for both the apps.
Kevin, I found that the Signal and Telegram apps are 2 alternatives to WhatsApp. The Signal app only stores 3 pieces of information on its servers, and all other users' information are encrypted and stored on the user's phone.
Ivy and Kevin, I'm happy that both of you are now very aware of the toxic, manipulative effects of social media, and the privacy issues related to their use. Kevin, can you share with us what is Sadhguru's advice to deal with the information overload on people's minds?
Yes, Sadhguru says that we have to look inside ourselves, and be touched by life. Let me show you a clip from the video.
All I'm saying is, this will lead to a certain overload on the mind, and suddenly a human being will think, why am I here? You know that big Shakespearean question, to be or not to be? This is not the most intelligent question. Unfortunately, people think so. This is only because you have not been touched by life. You are not a piece of life, you are just a psychological case. You're full of thoughts and emotions. You have not touched life at all. You think your thoughts and emotions are life? No. Your thoughts and emotions are the drama that you're creating in your mind. It is your cinema. You must be able to end it somewhere. If you do not know how to put the end, then it's going on endless cinema, you're going crazy. Life is happening here. Life is not… your work is not life, your family is not life, your career is not life, your cinema is not life, your thought is not life, your emotion is not life. Life is happening here. Everything else is accessories to life. Now, the frills of life have become larger than life itself. Life is entirely missed. If you touch life within you, then it's an explosion of energy. When such a thing never happens to you, because you have information about the whole cosmos on your phone screen, you will never be touched by life because too much information, too much thought. Even emotion is drying up, too much thought.
Kevin, can you please share the key points from the clip?
Sadhguru says that most people think that their thoughts and emotions are their life. He says that actually they are dramas that they play in their minds. Sadhguru says that life is happening inside us, and that everything else are accessories to life. He says that too much information and thoughts are preventing a person from being touched by life. I wonder what he meant by that.
Joanna, what does the Guru mean by life happening inside us? I am curious.
Kevin and Ivy, that is what we shall find out later. Let us take a break and connect with nature. It will help calm your mind and clarify your thoughts. Please check out the 3 short video clips using the shortcut URL links in the following page. We shall discuss after our break, in part 2 on what is the inner person, and in part 3 on how to connect to the inner person.